How's everyone doing? I hope everyone's having a perfect day. I'm going to talk about the importance of knowing thyself. And in this context, I'm talking about knowing the identity you've been living as, depending on how old you are. This could be most of your life. This could be a recent identity. This could be, however, sometimes we don't see it. Oftentimes, the identity shows up as the ego because ego reflects what you see as normal. So, we're going to talk about the importance of knowing thyself, because anything you ever have to overcome is yourself. You always have to overcome the identity that you are being before you change, right? So, example, say you have to, if you're trying to get in shape, you have to overcome the identity that doesn't like going to the gym. You have to overcome the identity that likes to eat junk food. You have to overcome the identity that they, you know, either they don't eat correctly, or maybe they don't sleep right, so that their body doesn't get rest, so that their body doesn't recover. You know, anyways, you need to be able to identify the identity you're functioning as, not in the way that you have to fix yourself, but in the way that you get to choose a new identity. All right, you get to choose how you want to show up. You get to choose which identity you're trying to be, because this reality reflects our identity that we're being, right? The 3D will always reflect the identity of the person that you're being, or the identity that you are portraying at that time. Which means be very careful what identity you choose, which I'll probably make another video on this, because you could get similar effects from different identities, right? You could multiple identities can have money. Multiple identities can have a successful relationship with different people, right? Multiple identities can have families with different people, because all creation is done. Okay, all creation is done means that you are going into the different realities in which your identity gets to experience that reality, because again, every version of you is created. Every version of you is here already. Okay, and reality shifts happen instantaneously. Now what this means is that, because they do happen instantaneously, but you have to remember that the external world, the 3D, is reflecting your old identity back at you. So if you use the 3D to gauge your progress, it's going to show you your old identity first, right? So there's going to be a period in time where you will be, basically, you shift, but then the 3D is still reflecting the old identity you were being. And then you have to acknowledge that it's the old identity that you're being. And then while you acknowledge that, you have to stay in the identity you're trying to remain in. Okay, but again, you cannot waver, because when you waver, that's when we remain in the identity that we've been in most of our life. So you get these instances with like techniques and stuff, right? You get like affirmations, meditations, hypnosis, and all this stuff, right? What this does, there's people that are like, oh, what affirmations do I gotta say? What identity do I have to be? Look, it's your reality to experience. You create whatever reality you want to experience. Okay, what affirmations do you want to do? Look, you are making affirmations all the time. There's not one instance where you're not doing affirmations, whether it's thought, speaking it, thinking it, being it, right? It's all affirmations, right? So you have people that are like, oh my God, I did affirmations for 5 minutes. And then they're like, oh, I'm abundant or whatever. And then the day starts, and then they're like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to pay this, or I don't know how I'm going to pay that, or I don't have enough money for this. It's like, look, that affirmations you did just was useless, because as soon as you finished the affirmation, you went back to the old identity that doesn't believe it, right? So you're wavering, and the identity doesn't have time to materialize the reality that you're trying to step into. which is why affirmations can work. But when it comes to stuff with money or loved ones, or relationships, because it's not something that it's not something that materializes and stays. It's something that you have to maintain a relationship with. um, you have to be right. You have to manifest the the being that experiences what you want to experience. You have to manifest the being that experiences the wonderful family, right? You have to manifest the being that experiences having money, right? If I don't judge anyone, if you trying to sleep with multiple people, do you, right? That's your call. This is your experience, so to speak, right? So again, we have to know our old self. We have to know thyself. We have to know what identity shows up as, because we have to overcome it. You have to be able to identify what the 3D is showing you sometimes, because again, the 3D reflects ourselves back at us, right? So if you want to be abundant and you want to say, I always have more than enough, I have an abundance, everything's always paid in full, right? You have to overcome the old identity. You have to be able to overcome that old programming that you may have had from before. You have to decide to allow that old identity to die. You have to decide to bury that identity. And mind you, it could be easy, it might not be easy. And there's times that the old identity tries to sneak back in. Right? I'll try to sneak back in and try to bring you back into that realm of existence, right? Because what people don't understand is that oftentimes our triggers are from us, right? So we trigger the 3D, especially when you try to shift into timelines. Because once you shift instantaneously, now you don't belong in that timeline, right? Because the one that belongs on the timeline is the old identity that you show up as, and the old identity that you've been. So now everything's going to start triggering you. But in reality, you're triggering the identity because it's trying to stay alive, right? It's trying to stay alive. So again, when you are picking, or when you're deciding to experience a new reality, and you're deciding to step into a new identity, you need to know what problems your identity deals with. Do you have a problem with unworthiness, right? Do you have a problem with being ungrateful, right? Do you see the negative in everyone, right? Do you assume that everyone is out to get you? Okay. Are you not trusting of anybody? Do you are you in your ego so much that you cannot remain spiritual, because the 3D, you need the 3D to validate your experience, right? Like you need the proof from the 3D, when in reality you are the proof yourself, and you are the one that needs to validate the universe, not the other way around. The 3D doesn't validate you, you validate the 3D, right? You validate existence, right? So you have to be able to observe yourself. You have to be able, and again, this is with total humility. This is not to attack anyone. This is not to, because I mean, if you want to change, you got to identify what you're doing, and not changing like, oh, I want to keep this identity, but I'm trying to fix stuff. Because again, we're not fixing anything. We are stepping into different identities to experience different existences, different timelines, right? Essentially, it's like switching the movie, right? You're switching a movie into, you're switching from a terror horror to a comedy to a romantic movie to an action movie. You're picking whatever movie you want, with whatever plot line you want, with however you want to express yourself as the main character, because again, you are the main character and the world revolves around you. So once you identify the identity that you are being, now you can decide. And again, this might not make sense for some people, but everything that you do is a decision, right? You're all powerful. So if you decide that you can't do it, you can't do it. If you decide that you are the type of person that needs to heal through the child healing, then that's your reality. If you decide that, oh, I need to use the proper portals to have my top power, that's what you're gonna do. That is what your reality will show you. If you decide that, um, you know, there's only one way to do it, your reality is gonna show only that way. Okay. When in reality, all the existences, there's infinite possibilities to get something done. Okay. My favorite thing is to function from the I am consciousness or from your divine being, because you don't have to worry about the how, right? Everyone in manifestation is like, ooh, let me manifest a text, or let me manifest a phone call, or let me manifest $5,000, or you know, like that kind of shit, right? Let me manifest a car or a house. When you manifest from the God, the divine being entity, right? The consciousness that's within all of us. You don't worry about the how. You don't worry about the when. You stay in the end. You know what's going to happen. You know what you want. You know what experience you're deciding to experience in this life, and you just be. And then you take on the identity of the one that experiences all that, and then you enjoy that experience. And you don't worry about the how, because again, we will never understand logically divine movement, right? There's times where people are like, oh my God, I'm homeless, right? But it's, you know, it's development for experiencing whatever you're trying to experience. Or, oh my God, this person blocked me, I can't talk to the person that I love. Congratulations, you don't know how this is being used in your development of the identity that you're stepping into. Okay. Or oh my God, I can't get a job, or oh, I have to move, or you know, anything that happens in life is working for you. And if as soon as you develop that mindset, it's way easier. It's so much easier. It's you will be at peace a lot more. And mind you, there'll be instances where you could stress out, which is fine. But you have to remind yourself the identity that you're working as, right? Would the divine creator be, you know, stressing about, you know, being late a couple days for a bill? You know, no. You know, if you pretend you're an alien and you come down to Earth, you know, none of the 3D's meanings of anything is going to mean anything to you, right? $1 and $100 is going to be the same thing. The coffee is going to be the same thing as a person, you know, like everything's the same to the divine, right? Everything is the same to the infinite, because everything is you. But yeah, I got into ranting a little bit, so apologies. But yeah, know the old self. So, you know thyself, know the old identity, because when you're trying to shift into the new identity, into the new timeline, you will have to overcome your old self. You know, you'd have to kill the old God, because you're always divine, and you're always manifesting, and you're always materializing who you are, even before you know manifesting, even before any of this was a thing, right? And any of this even was in your consciousness, because that's just this existence, right? So just, you know, pay attention who you're being, right? If you choose to remain that person, but know it's a conscious decision, right? And the problem with this is that if you get to this level of consciousness, you can't get mad about anything, because you can't pull the victim card, because everything is you, and everything is a reflection of you, right? So if everything is a reflection of you, it's your fucking fault. So you can't get mad at shit. You cannot play the victim card. You cannot, you know, throw your own pity party. I mean, you could, but it doesn't make sense, because you're knowledgeable enough to know and be in your knowing that this is a reflection of your inner being. So know thyself, and then step into the reality that you want. So God bless. Have the perfect day. Deuces.